Boxing King Media in association with Boxroll, here with Jamie Moore. Jamie, your guy, Marc Leach, has done it. He's done it the hard way, man. He's come through tough time in his life. Yeah. Finally got to the pinnacle, fight for the British title. There's no other word. I was speaking to Anthony outside. Masterclass.
Absolutely. You know, when he's waited so long, he was working up until not long ago. He's been a professional fighter alongside doing proper manual work. Doing night shifts. It's been so difficult for him. He's now got a sponsorship which is helping him be a full-time pro, and you know his training, you can see the massive difference in his training, and the big thing is when someone gets an opportunity they have to take it, and you know you always worry if you have a bad night, you've waited so long, but God, he took it with both hands tonight. It was an absolutely phenomenal performance.
Fighting on the back foot, counter-punching can be dangerous if you've not got it if your skill set isn't there, but he just got better and better. That's the same thing Anthony said to me. He goes, I expected after 4 or 5 rounds to maybe, for Marc to maybe lose a round or two here and there, because he just got better.
He gets better because what happens is the first couple of rounds he starts working out his opponent's rhythm, his punch rhythm, his timing, and then he works it into his own game plan. So, and it's so natural. I mean, listen, I can't take any credit for it in one sense. You know, we sort of tell him what to do for the opponents, but his natural attributes have all been developed by Oliver Harrison over the years from being 6 years old, and he's phenomenally talented. He's got cat-like reflexes, and after about 3 rounds, he has you worked out, and then he makes you make mistakes, because then you've got to try and force the fight, and as soon as you start to try and force it, it makes you pay.
I can remember even I heard it somewhere that Carl Frampton even said when I used to spar with him, it was just very, very hard to catch him.
Carl, the first day Carl came in our gym, he walked in and Marc was sparring, and he just stood there next to me and he went, who the fuck's this kid? He went, he's ridiculously good. And I went, mate, you watch how good he is. He said, you're not seeing nothing here. He's like the Matrix, you just can't hit him. If he decides he doesn't want to get hit, that's it. He actually stood and traded a little bit more today, because he got clipped a few times off Chris, and he thought, you know what, I'm all right with his kid's power, and stood and traded a little bit more than he usually does. And yeah, I just think you only just scratch the surface with him. He can be so much more better than that, and you know, like everybody, he hasn't been as active as he'd like to be, but this is his opportunity now to earn some good money.
You've just mentioned it there though, like there's times where he was putting it on him, maybe he never did it enough where he was throwing maybe a 3-4 punch combo, because it looked like when he was pushing him back. Did you feel like there's a lot more in that sense coming forward?
Exactly. That's why I just said that you've only just scratched the surface. And don't forget, Marc's never been in the shape he's been in tonight, because he's not been able to train to the extent that he has done. So this is like, we've only just built the base, now we're going to build the pyramid. So you can imagine how much improvement he's going to make now that we can start doing it, because all he will get from that is confidence, because he now knows he can do 12 rounds at a good pace. He got forced into a pace there, and as time goes on then he'll start to go, you know what, I can go through the gears a little bit more here, because I'm confident in my own fitness.
Interesting. I want to talk about the scorecards. They were a bit tighter than some people thought it was. People had it wide. What did you make of them scorecards yourself?
Well, for a start, Terry O'Connor's give Chris 4 rounds on 1 even. So I just don't see that. I mean, I turned around and I looked up to Carl and I went 10, and he went 9 or 10. So like, it's insane. I'm complaining and we've won. So this shouldn't be a conversation, and it has to be addressed. It really does have to be addressed. So in situations like this, the board from Jack Catterall's fight, because Jack lost, have made an inquiry about the scorecard and have downgraded Ian John Lewis. I'm complaining now, and we've won, about that scorecard. So I think they should do an investigation into Terry O'Connor's card now and go, explain that, because you can't give him 4 rounds. I don't think you can give him 4 rounds. I might not know boxing, and if that's the case, if I'm watching that fight, he barely landed a clean shot on Marc for 5 or 6 rounds. He certainly didn't push him down the stretch to the extent where he was winning rounds. How's he going to win 4 rounds and draw one? It doesn't make sense.
Just talking about what you've just spoke about there as well in regards to Ian John Lewis and the board's the statement that they put out and the action that they put forward. I know you're not going to be happy with anything really because you can't sort of fulfil what you wanted to fulfil on the night, but what's your reaction to that, to what the British Board of Control have done in regards to downgrading him and also contacting each world body and saying, trying to point Jack Catterall as mandatory?
Well, so if you agree with the scorecard, how can you then lobby for the world governing bodies to force a rematch? Because that means that you don't agree with the scorecard. Because why would you lobby for Jack to be made mandatory if you thought he lost the fight? It contradicts itself. It happened with me. So when I got disqualified against Michael Jones in the second fight, we asked for the decision to get overturned because I said I didn't hit him after the referee said stop boxing. I hit him at the same time as he said it. So it was impossible for me to not throw the punch. They said we don't overturn decisions, we rectify them. So they fined me £500 because they said they agreed with Terry O'Connor. Not Terry O'Connor, Dave Paris. They agreed with Dave Paris for disqualifying me. They fined me £500 and made me mandatory challenger. So I said, so how can you make me mandatory challenger if you agree that I should have been disqualified? So to me, that was an admittance that I shouldn't have been disqualified, and they was rectifying the problem, but they still fined me £500. So it's contradictory, and you know, I don't want to say too much because I don't want to end up getting in trouble, but things like this can't keep going on, and it's open to the public. Everyone can look at it and go, it's just contradiction, you can't keep doing that. And then I was stood there, like, during that fight, I knew Marc Leach was winning it. I'm questioning myself thinking, oh God, I hope the scorecard's going to be right. I shouldn't have to be thinking that during the fight. I should be concentrating on what I'm supposed to be concentrating on in the fight. I'm worrying about the scorecards. It's insane.
What do you sort of make of... It's a bit of a difficult one, but in regards to that situation, I don't know how much you can say, but going forward, what do you expect to happen? Because now you're talking about it here, do you feel that more people need to come out and discuss this, people need to talk about this? Because now we know with the whole Josh Taylor situation, the police got involved and whatever else was done in Parliament, it was discussed. Do you feel that more people need to talk about this? What needs to happen going forward?
Listen, your guess is as good as mine because we've been speaking about this for so long now, and in a way Robert Smith was right. He said, you know, we have been talking about this for so long, what do we do? Because if there was an easy solution to it, it'd have been done. And he's right, but we have to address the scoring, the structure of the scoring, so that everybody knows what you're supposed to be scoring. Because at the moment it's too opinionated. So in my opinion, he won that round. So really, you can watch a round and everyone knows who won the round, and then somebody can go, yeah, but I preferred his work. That's not how you should score a boxing match. It should be actually structured, and then afterwards, it's on your opinion about what was actually supposed to be scored. So if it's based on someone's opinion, it just depends. And then you leave it open to then, okay, do they like us? Because if they don't like us, then their opinion is going to go against us. It can't be opinionated. It can't be only based on opinion. It has to be properly structured.
Just final, how is Jack? You know, obviously been through quite
You know what? First 2-3 days, he was like, you can imagine, he was so pissed off. And now he's like, you know what? Fuck him. I've got a bit between my teeth. Things are looking in the right direction. He's got a good offer on the table, and he's hoping to get a world title shot straight away. He's hoping that they do the right thing. Force a rematch. Josh ain't going to take it. Josh is going to move up, and then Josh gets to fight for the world title.
Stock massively rose, though, regardless of the of the scorecards. And I know this isn't any sort of anything for you guys, but his stock did rise that night. A lot of people throughout the world, fighters across the world, were talking about Jack Catterall's performance.
I know, and the thing is, you can't go back and reverse the decision and get that moment back. All you can do is now moving forward, make sure that he still gets the opportunities, and you know, financially doesn't lose out in terms of moving forward. And that's what people are trying to do. The promoters, the managers, they're all trying to make sure that okay, we can't right the wrongs, but we can try and make sure that he doesn't lose out in all the other areas what potentially would have done because he's not got the decision.
Jamie, just a final one, just because you got that grey badge on your left hand, left arm. We're not great at the moment, but anyway, someone else who supports that club, massive heavyweight. Obviously, Tyson Fury going to be fighting Dillian White at the end of April. Just give me your thoughts on that. I don't know if I'm going to see you, so I did want to pick your brain on this anyway.
Yeah, it's a good fight. It's a good fight. I think Dylan's an underrated fighter. I think the only thing is that Tyson Fury for me is head and shoulders above every other heavyweight. But you know, if he takes his eye off the ball, I don't think he will. But Dylan is waiting for this opportunity for so long. It's very. I think he's the only one who waited longer than Jack Catterall. And we all seen what happened when Jack Catterall got his opportunity. He took it with both hands. So you know, this could be his moment, and big stage. So I still think Tyson will nick it. I think he'll win on points, but I think Dillian White's going to surprise people.
You're a trainer, you've been in the ring as well. Does it take that one super big fight for you to know how great a fighter is? You've probably been in that situation. We've seen it with Carl Frampton throughout his career. Once he had to step up to the plate. Rick Hatton was the same, that big Costa fight. Do you reckon it does take maybe that super fight for somebody to sort of...
It takes the fight for everybody else to know how good they are and to prove it to you, really. But I always knew, and people were sort of saying to me during fight week for Jack's fight, you're really confident, I can't believe how confident you are. And I'm saying, I'm confident because I know how good my fighter is. Confidence comes when you know, when you're certain about something, and I know how good Jack is, so I knew that was going to happen. And the sickening thing is, I didn't even think about that. It only got mentioned to me on a Thursday. They said, are you worried about scorecards being in Scotland? And I went, do you know what, I've not even thought about that. And then now I'm paranoid about it, and I shouldn't be. This sport shouldn't be like that.
Cool. Jamie, I'm going to let you...
Shut up, you were talking to someone. Rude bastard.
No fighting. No fighting.
Fuck's sake.
Jamie Moore, listen, it's a pleasure. Obviously, massive congratulations to yourself, to Nigel, to Marc. No doubt we'll speak to you soon. And yeah, keep repping that badge, even though we're going through a bit of a bad time. You know, we'll be back.
You can't only support when they're doing good. You've got to support when they're doing bad as well. And we would say.
Exactly. All right, cool. Jamie Moore, pleasure. Thank you so much.